I would rather send this person away from me and them get the help that they deserve than get them to become a client of mine. And at the end of the day, when you have that unshakable belief, like either you will gravitate towards me or I'm going to push you away from me in the direction that you need to go. Like I don't have anywhere to get in this meeting other than to serve this person. That to me is how you have a phenomenal conversation and if you go, the thing is so many advisors out there have an agenda. Like you walk in, how many times do we hear people say, I'm just a number, the client service has gotten worse. I mean, that's one of the things that we're investing in more than ever is client success. How do we create a program that really people rave about? Like I think it's something that, it's hard to find somebody who answers the phone. Welcome to the show. This is the Build Big, Live Bigger podcast. This is where you get real clarity about retirement so you can build a plan that blesses your life instead of becoming it. We'll share what you need to hear to replace worry with confidence, protect what you've built, and actually live your dreams, not your fears in retirement. Let's dive in. Hey everyone, welcome to episode 28 of the Build Big, Live Bigger podcast. My name is Jonathan Burgess and I'm joined today by a wonderful guest co-host, which I guess honestly we might be able to call you a co-host at this point, Matthew Hastings.
We're really doing it, Jonathan.
I know, we're trying at least.
Look at us.
Yeah. So what were you saying earlier? How are you going to open up the podcast?
Oh, what up, gang?
I apologize to all of our retirees out there for having to listen to that, but it's okay. So today's podcast episode is you can have $1 million and still retire wrong. Now, I have written a book called Retire Right. Most people want to retire right. Do you get any do-overs, Matt?
No.
And so the mistake I think a lot of retirees make, especially whenever they've saved $1 million, is they think that a number is a retirement plan. Like, oh, I've saved $1 million, I'm good to go. Matt, you have retired hundreds of people at this point successfully. What is your thought whenever I say something like that?
I think it's a surface level thought. I mean, it's what people default to is 20 years ago, we saw the commercial, what's your number above your head? And I think that's what people fall back on is data information from maybe somebody that did it a long time ago. And like you said, there's no do-overs, but this is a lot of the time, the first time they've done it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you have to have a plan, right? Everything's got to coordinate and work together. And a lot of people in that plan think the market alone is the number one risk.
Oh, for sure. I sat with someone 2 hours ago, and they have an advisor, not something that we don't see weekly. But their biggest concern was they walked with Barry, and Barry said, I don't think you're ready. I said, okay, well, like, what makes you feel ready? What's preventing you from doing that? And they're like, what do you mean? I was like, well, what did you talk with Barry? Mm-hmm. And they're like, he just looked at us and said, I don't think it's okay yet. Mm. And so I said, well, let's talk about your income. Like, what do you have now? What hits your bank account? And they were like, well, 55% of my paycheck goes to the employer. Mm-hmm. I was like, so what hits your bank account? Like, that's what we need. Mm-hmm. And so over the last hour and a half with them, I sat back and I said, okay, we talked about income, taxes, advanced planning, and your investments. Did y'all ever go this deep on your previous conversations? And they were like, no, but he's a nice guy.
Do you think they'll be able to retire?
Client B, the spouse, could retire tomorrow.
Oh, okay.
Based on his pension and Social Security.
Yeah.
Now, the hard question was, can the spouse that's currently working a little bit younger, she has not saved. Mm. And so that creates a wrinkle and complicate things where I asked the tough question, okay, the husband, if he retires, we have income replacement. Mm-hmm. But if the wife retires, there is no income replacement. Mm. She doesn't have a pension. Her Social Security at best will be spousal, mm-hmm. which will leave a gap. So I said, okay, well, we need to talk later today, you as a couple, and figure out what we might be able to save. She said, for what? And I said, for this gap. I was like, we need to get y'all ready.
What about somebody who really wants to retire, Matt? Like, they're like, oh, man, like if they have a conversation like that where you're like, oh, you really haven't saved enough to retire based on the data, right? So you were saying this guy earlier, Barry, he must have been another financial advisor. What I tend to find is a lot of advisors make a financial assumption like a hometown mechanic would. They make financial assumptions like a hometown mechanic would, where they're doing it based off feel
Who's it, open that hood, do the eye test, that kind of guy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And whereas we're looking at the data and saying, okay, you can retire. But let's say you've got husband and wife, husband can retire, wife's a little bit younger, can't retire yet because of income replacement. What are some potential things that they could do other than saving? Like what I know you problem solve all the time.
So to get them ready, that's the
To
question.
get, or what if they're like, man, I want to retire today. I'm tired of my job. I'm tired of what I'm doing. I want to travel. My mother just passed away early. I saw them have retirement savings. She worked until later on. Like, what should we do if we want to enjoy retirement now, but we haven't quite saved enough?
So we've already gone deep. We've realized there's a gap on the income. So what do they need to do now to make that decision and basically make some compromises? Yeah, I like to say whatever you spend your money on is like a vote. So every dollar you spend, you are stating that you prioritize that. And everybody prioritizes different things, right? Some people love new cars. Some people love their home. Some people like to travel. Some people like to spend time with their
He
grandkids.
pointed at me. For those of you listening, he pointed at me when he said some people like to travel. Keep going, Matt.
Oh, man. And so we have to figure out where they want to prioritize. And then we'll make decisions based on what's most important for them.
What about something like part-time work?
You can. I mean, but when I think about retirement, it's like, how do we avoid that? But there's some complicated issues there too, is at what age are we going to think about that part-time work? Because if we presume that someone started their Social Security, a pitfall I see all the time is they go back to work because they didn't have an expert say you have an income limit. And so sometimes they lose some of that Social Security benefit.
Yeah, which can be a pretty hefty penalty, isn't it? Like 50%.
Oh, it gets up there.
Yeah, it's like around 25,000. The engineers listening right now are going to go and look it up. It's probably like $24,372.
It's $24,480.
We love our engineers out there. Okay, we love our engineers.
Yeah.
But did you say the exact number?
I did. Yeah, I do this every day.
What's the number?
It's $24,480. Inflation adjusted for 20.
It's aggravating whenever you hire people smarter than you.
2025 was 23,400.
Okay, all right. Let's quit flexing that noggin. You can see more of your head than you can see of mine, though.
Oh my goodness, this font of wisdom.
We are, we're getting after each other right now. Okay, Matt's bald for those of you listening.
Speaking of traveling, I got an extra can of sunscreen just for my head for next week.
I'm really expecting Matt's wife, to just give me a hard time one day about giving you a hard time about your hair. But people give me a hard time about my hair.
Oh, well, she has the largest set of hair, and then I have the opposite. So opposites attract.
Yeah. Yeah, she's got very long hair. That is true.
The longest, she does awesome. She
makes up for, your shortage of hair. She more than compensates.
Yeah. So if we have a spouse in the future, as long as one has more than the other, then we can make that balance out.
Understood. That makes total sense. Okay, getting back to the numbers. Rabbit trail. This is why Matt and I have talked about this. We were like, we need to do another podcast together, but I just knew some of this was going to happen, which is why I was willing.
He begged me to be on here.
I didn't beg. I asked. And I literally walked downstairs and said, hey, you and I are talking today. So
it's true. Yeah. I'll give him some credit.
Another mistake that people make is they don't really have an income strategy. So again, you do this more than I do now in the day-to-day, but they don't really have an income strategy. So just talk through that and kind of how you help families with that.
Yeah. So the easiest answer is you take money. That, from a planning perspective, is probably the least efficient way to look at it. Is no one that we sit with regularly every week understands which account to take the money from. People just assume they have an income number and it just kind of pulls in, but they don't realize, in addition to investment diversification, there's a benefit to tax diversification. And we're really aware of that. And we see some clients talk about other plans that were put in place that didn't take into any account what kind of taxable, tax-deferred, tax-free vehicle those assets are coming from. And inside that, where to place those investments appropriately. And so we see that pretty regularly. But when you create an income plan, it needs to work together. Because as you get older, expenses increase. You sat with a couple this morning, and their biggest stress right now was medical costs are increasing.
Mhm.
And
Yeah, they asked for like they increased their income by, oh my gosh, like 3 times. It wasn't not a, a huge, um, not a huge amount of assets, but these people struggle with the same thing across the board. I mean, it's, client needed to go from taking $1,000 a month out to $3,000 a month, 82 years old. It's so funny. People ask us all the time, "Hey, what's the oldest person you work with?"
I got some 90-year-olds. Yeah.
Yeah, we got some folks in their 90s.
And we have a 79-year-old that still slalom skis. And I asked him the other day, this was probably back at the ugly Christmas sweater party. I said, "Hey, what's the secret?" He said, "Don't stop.
Mm.
If you don't use it, you lose it." And that was one of the main concerns for that couple I just referenced earlier today was
Mhm.
he was like, "I don't know what to do when I retire because I like to stay busy. I like to work." He
Yeah.
goes, "I'll go crazy." And she actually was a CNA. She owned her own company. She was like, "I see that in some of my clients
Mhm.
that she takes care of the elderly that they just sit in a room and they lose track or sense of time." And she sees that deterioration.
Mhm.
And so we kind of talked about that a little bit in the last podcast about having purpose,
Mm.
where people work so hard and
That's
then
why I was saying the part-time work thing. Like, I don't think part-time work for everyone is a bad a lot of people don't wanna do it. It's, like, totally you definitely get a mixed at our last wine and wisdom, you get a mixed, response to that. Like, some people were like, "Oh," like, nodding their heads. The other half the room's, like, shaking their heads like, "Jonathan, are you talking about?"
no, we're talking about shout out to Nancy. When I went to bull riding last year and I walked down, I did this experience called the Shark Tank where I
Oh, yeah, yeah,
sat
yeah.
in the center of the ring when the bulls would come out. Now we had a cage, so I felt safe, but they're like, "You can't bring anything in." And I was like, "Well, what am I gonna do?" And then I heard from the distance, "It's okay, Matt, I've got you." And I turned around and it was Nancy. She does part-time work at the arena because she loves to see the events and
Yeah,
it keeps her busy.
yeah.
So yeah, that exists too. People that are capable and willing, they don't necessarily need the income, but
That is such a cool idea where they get all these what does she do at the
well, now she
she
manages all the part-time workers.
that's insane. But
Yeah.
she gets access to the Bon Secours Wellness Arena, and so she gets to see all these different events and experiences without
Concerts.
paying, and she gets paid.
She gets paid to listen to the music she wants to listen to, and she gets to pick the events. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Whether it's that or the baseball park here at Floor Field, Home Depot, people
So,
want that
the
discount.
reason why it sounds like, Matt, you may be more of a proponent of not part-time work. I always say part-time work because I have literally 0 idea how I would retire and not be doing anything. Like, I just can't fathom
Yeah.
that day for me personally. So when clients start to talk about part-time work, I'm like, yeah, like, put it in there. Because you just have, 2 to 3 times the amount of free time that you had previously. I like the idea, but here's the thing. Does my idea matter? In that sense, absolutely not. Like, it matters what your vision of retirement is. And I think something that you and I were talking about. So I run Matt's one-on-one meetings, which is fun. So we get to meet every 2 weeks and talk
For
about
those, yeah, who's for people listening, what is a one-on-one?
a one-on-one is just basically we're doing goal setting with our team. So
So personal, professional, financial.
yeah, going over Matt's goals personally, which by the way, huge shout out. He has knocked off so many of these things. This guy's a go getter. But yeah, Matt and I are talking in a one on one, and do you remember what I wrote on that thing on that card?
On the paper or the
Yeah,
card?
on the paper.
You mean this one?
Pull it out. Pull it out. Show the camera.
Which camera am I looking at, Sam?
It says, what does it say?
It says, "Shut up and listen."
Like, that is, to me, as an advisor, that's what we're paid to do.
Yeah, too many advisors talk first,
And put their idea of his dream retirement on their clients.
which is why that question earlier, it was a pause of, well, how do we figure out the income plan? The first step is the data gathering. Where are we trying to go?
Mm-hmm. And I just think that and I hope you've seen this as you've progressed in your career, but it's insane what people will tell you about what they want to accomplish if you'll just listen. I think most advisors go into a meeting and they just want to talk. But the thing is, this couple has talked about retirement. Before they walked in and sat with you, I guarantee you were not, you ain't in their king mattress at night. That'd be a little weird. But they've had some conversations, you know? They've had some conversations. Maybe not in the king mattress. We might have to cut this out. But you know what? We're going to leave it in because I'm a little bit quirky and it's fine. I'm just zooming on Matt's face laughing. So we're not in their house though. There's all these intimate conversations that they've had about what a retirement looks like, and we get an hour to be a part of these conversations. And the fact that we think that we are so high and mighty that we know what this couple's gonna want in 60 minutes and we're gonna talk 40 minutes of the 60 minutes is absolutely idiotic. And there are people that manage a whole lot more money than us, but I genuinely believe we have the best idea of what our clients want to achieve because we listen to them.
If retirement clarity matters to you, don't wait. Text BOOK to 864-920-3155 or click the link in the description below to get a free copy of Jonathan's book, Retire Right.
Too many advisors try to impress people, make themselves sound smart, but that typically creates a lot of confusion.
Mm-hmm.
We've created a process to simplify it so that it actually makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where we are truly the best in the world, is building that confidence, giving that clarity, because we can condense it into a one-page plan.
Mm-hmm.
We can ask less, but make more impact on those questions. And so that's typically what we're seeing lately.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people come up and they're like, I don't even know what to ask you right now. Like they'll start out and they'll say, what should I ask you? Or I like to make sure before we leave, especially in a first meeting, is I'll ask the person in front of me or the couple or multiple people, I'll say, hey, did I leave anything important to y'all that we haven't covered before we walk out this door? And then sometimes they'll sit back and be like, what is there something I need to ask you?
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, I just want to make sure we cover what's important.
Yeah.
And so is there another dream that maybe you kind of were nervous at the beginning or you thought was aspirational, not realistic?
Yeah.
I
always loved in those because so you and I have sat in a lot of meetings together, especially early on. We got a lot of FaceTime, but one of the ways that I would answer that question, like, do you guys have any other questions? And they were like, we don't know what to ask. I was like, let me pretend like I'm you guys' son and like you're interviewing me and the questions that I would ask me, like, how many people have you retired? How much do you manage? Like, tell me about your worst client situation that you had to run into. How did you resolve it? Tell me about your best client when, how did that go? Questions like that really help people, I understand the question, but you have to care about this person in front of you enough to it's almost like this unbreakable belief where I'm like, what one of our roles, we have nowhere to get in this meeting other than to serve this person. So that means I would rather send this person away from me and them get the help that they deserve than get them to become a client of mine. And at the end of the day, when you have that unshakable belief, like either you will gravitate towards me or I'm going to push you away from me in the direction that you need to go. Like I don't have anywhere to get in this meeting other than to serve this person. That to me is how you have a phenomenal conversation with, and if you go, the thing is so many advisors out there have an agenda. Like you walk in and how many times do we hear people say, I'm just a number. The client service has gotten worse. I mean, that's one of the things that we're investing in more than ever is client success. How do we create a program that really people rave about? Like I think it's something that, it's hard to find somebody who answers the phone. Like that's one of the most understated things. But if you answer the phone and you listen to people and you create a plan that they really want and you communicate, oh my gosh, like this is the most simple thing in the world to do.
Yeah, behind the scenes, we talk a lot about that, where it sounds opposite of business. Like we're not a nonprofit. We definitely have to create income to be able to support our clients and our families. But yet the mindset is, whether they work with us or somebody else, can we serve the person in front of us? And then culturally, we talk about it every single week. Every morning, for anybody that wants a little behind the curtains of Big Money Retirement Solutions, every morning we talk about our differentiation blueprint, and we talk about our culture and how do we separate ourselves from the industry. Because we are in this industry, but we are not for this industry. Because a lot of advisors, the first question they ask their client is, how much money do you have? And they start calculating revenue on an annual basis. The client I sat with earlier today, her daughter works for a company that we won't name in Charleston. And she goes, I'm just trying to help her out. She does this on the side. She's actually a real estate agent, the daughter. I said, interesting. So she's setting up a financial plan as a side hobby for you. She goes, well, I mean, I'm just trying to help her out. And I was like, is she trying to help you out? And she goes, I think so. And we pull up her account. She goes, here it is. And I was like, oof. I was like, she popped you for 5.75% up front for every dollar that you put into that account with her. And she goes, well, what do you mean? And I was like, look at your transactions. Look what you put in. Look what actually got invested. I was like, that's the difference between a broker and a fiduciary. I was like, now, I understand it's your daughter, but going forward, is that the kind of account, if you had options, that you would stick with? She said, well, how do I move it? And so that to me is powerful, because we've got a young advisor, AP, that's going to go to Myrtle Beach. He has the utmost potential. We got him reps with a lot of clients. So we look back, and some of the first times he got nervous, he was like, I need to be good so that when you all look at this meeting, you'll give me a good grade. And we pulled him aside and we said, AP, the most important thing you need to do right now is serve the person in front of you. And you need to make sure that you make an impact in her life. And that you can help her. Because if you can't help her, don't take the meeting. And he walked away after that. She got deep. The meeting went long, and she opened up to him.
It did go long. I did. Yeah, I saw that.
Because he cared. He literally was invested in this person's life and saw opportunity to make a change. And I think she felt that. Versus, I need her to open the account right now. I'll just go ahead and get started. And that's the opposite. And when you flip that mindset of, all I'm here to do is serve and lead this person in front of me and make an impact, the other pieces will come. And so I love that we focus on that behind the scenes. And I hope people feel that and the difference of sitting with us versus somebody else. Because you do get that commission breath from some of these people. I'll be sitting in about an hour with somebody where a friend, will do some asterisks on that, told that individual, if you're a good dad, you'll buy this product. And that left such a bad taste in his mouth. And he was like, all I see is this person going up and down the coast, traveling all the time. His face is on billboards. He's obviously making a lot of money, but was that the best thing for me? And why did he make me feel bad for not going that direction when it may not have made sense for his family? And so it's kind of unsettling. And that's why we say we're in this business, in this industry, but we're not for it, because the ethics piece can kind of bleed into it. So I would say that's a pitfall. We talk about some issues that can happen in retirement. You happen to sit with the wrong person at the wrong time, and you can really judge a person on their intent by what do they do for the rest of the week.
I think we're going to leave it there. You need to make sure you sit with the right person as you go through. And I mean, that's going to make a huge difference. I actually saw a statistic in a continuing education class I was taking. It was like, if men and women, so a couple, they walk in to see a financial advisor, they hire the financial advisor, things go well. If things go well, the man will say, I'm glad we picked this guy. So the husband will be like, I picked this guy. This went great. In this same interaction, if a man and a woman go into the relationship and then things don't go well, he blames the advisor So he says, hey, you know, this advisor didn't do what he was supposed to do. So blame goes to the advisor. He doesn't blame his wife. Take that note. Okay. And then if so a single well, no, it's wife and husband. Wife hires the advisor. If things go well, the wife gives the credit to the advisor, actually, in that situation. And if things don't go well, a female will blame herself in the interaction. So like she takes it on as like, man, this didn't really go well. I thought that was super interesting. And the reason why I thought that was so interesting is I was like, man, none of our clients ever have to go through the negative side of that. So I'm biased though, totally biased. But no, I can't say that compliance. You'll see it at the end. We're not guaranteeing results, right? Markets may go up and down. It depends on the quality of the investment that you buy. Investing involves risk. There's no guarantee on any product. I hope that compliance works right there at the end. But no, I just thought that was interesting. And it is so important that you hire the right advisor at the right time. And you want to know when the right time to hire the right advisor was? Yesterday. So, Matt, thanks for joining me on this episode. Thanks for listening to this episode of Build Big, Live Bigger. If you're listening to this, we know you have a white belt mentality. Keep investing your time in things like this. You are learning more about finance, and I just want to congratulate you on that step. And stick around for the next episode. We will see you later.
Thanks, gang.